This episode of From Angel to Exit is brought to you by the CEO's Right Hand. The CEO's Right Hand provides customized outsourced finance, accounting, and human resource services tailored to small and medium-sized businesses. Their services include fractional CFO, HR support, capital raising, and financial infrastructure development. They emphasize personalized engagements and expert support to drive growth and operational efficiencies. If you want to find out more, visit theceosrighthand.co. Are you serious about planning a successful business exit? From Angel to Exit is your go-to resource. Subscribe to our newsletter at eckfeldt.com/podcast for even more valuable insights. And to get personalized guidance, take our free exit readiness assessment. It's just 24 questions, and it will give you a clear picture of your exit readiness. Find the assessment at eckfeldt.com/exit. Submit your results, and we'll schedule a free follow-up call to discuss your specific situation and the best way to maximize your valuation and ensure a successful transaction. Now, back to the episode. Welcome, everyone. This is From Angel to Exit. I'm Bruce Eckfeldt. I'm your host. Our guest today, Erik Olson. Erik is founder and CEO of 3 different agencies: Array Digital, Rival Digital, and Crush Digital. We're going to talk to him about the play he's got going, kind of his strategy. We've had a couple conversations, and I'm really intrigued by not only kind of what he's doing, but how he's thinking about it and how it's kind of come up. I think he's got a really interesting way of thinking about how to approach the businesses, but also create a platform and create something that hopefully is going to be more valuable and potentially, quite sellable when he gets to that point. And he's been doing a lot of work on this. He's got a lot of insights on the process. So, with all that, Erik, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate the invitation. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to have you on. So before we dive into the different agencies and kind of this platform that you've been building, I'd love to get a little background. In our kind of prep for this, you mentioned you were originally a civil engineer, I think it was. And so I'm kind of curious what the professional background was, how you got into business. Tell us a little about that story.
Sure. Yeah. So, I went to Virginia Tech back in the early 90s. So I'm getting up there in age, I guess. And went for civil engineering. And so I got out, I was doing construction project management. And so I was surrounded by tradespeople, right? Like electricians, carpenters, things like that. Then I bought an old house and I was working on it. And I thought, this is around like 98 or so. I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if there was a website where someone like me who needed contractors to come into their house could connect with contractors who needed the work. And so I got this idea for something of, say, like Angie's List. It was that idea. Angie's List was already around, but I wasn't aware of them. And so I started to try to build this thing, and I kind of stumbled, and I went to Barnes and Noble and I read a lot of books, and I taught myself how to program. I hired a freelancer, and he initially provided me code, and then he would it turned into just a mentorship. So I learned how to code, got into software development, switched careers completely. I was a software developer for about 15 years. And I won't go into all the details of that, but towards the end, I was running a software company. So we would build mobile apps, we would build data-intensive web applications, and we would spend a lot of our clients' money building these things, and we'd hand it over to them, and then they didn't do anything with it. It just like sat on the shelf and rotted away. And I had learned through my experience of trying to build that Angie's List kind of thing that you have to market, and I wasn't very good at marketing. And then my clients, I noticed, weren't very good at marketing. And it turned out to me, like in my experience, there's a lot of companies out there that aren't very good at marketing. So we started to tiptoe into marketing because I wanted something that was impressive. I wanted to say I built Uber. Right? We were building great software, but it just rotted away. So we started to do a little bit of marketing and then a little bit more. And then I started to realize that the marketing was actually more valuable than the thing that we had just built for the client. Right. And so we hired one digital marketer. I didn't understand what he was doing. I didn't understand why clients kept paying us month after month. And I spent about a year just super deep diving into digital marketing because I really wanted to prove to myself that it was something of value, that we weren't just ripping people off. I needed to understand how it worked. So about a year into it, I was so convinced that we pivoted the entire company, walked away from custom software development, the thing that I brought to the table, the thing I was very good at. We went all in on digital marketing. That was back in 2018. Fast forward to today, And we do have 3 digital marketing agencies
Okay.
that each focus on a different niche. So I'm a very big believer in niching, but I also don't like the risk that comes with it. If your industry collapses for some reason, like I want a backup plan. So we have the 3 separate companies, separate brands, separate teams, each one run by a president, and each one focusing on a different niche.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I hear you on the whole. From a strategic focus point of view, you want to have that niche in terms of really clear customer, really clear offer, real competitive differentiation, but that will create a certain amount of risk associated with concentration in industry or even with particular customers. So I guess when did that idea first come up of creating separate brands? Because that's a pretty particular strategy, or that's a pretty specific move to kind of handle the whole, I'm gonna diversify behind the scenes, but I'm gonna stay focused from a positioning point of view. Like how did that decision play out?
Yeah, it is interesting because I'm not aware of a lot of people doing what we've done. But most of the time when an agency like mine decides it's time to niche. Actually, I was just on a Slack group and someone was talking about they wanted to niche and they don't know what to do. This comes up all the time. We had the same problem. We thought about it for years and years and years.
Yeah.
It's risky. It's risky to go from being a generalist where you are engaging with your local network and getting work from them for various different things. So it's risky to say all of a sudden, we only work for insert industry. Because you're just afraid, right? And what about your current clients? And so we were very fearful of doing that. And Array Digital was the first company. That was the first agency we created in 2017. So I was worried, right? And risk mitigation. This is like probably now the second time that I brought this up. I was worried about making that big change. So I'm all for making big change, but I don't want to take unnecessary risk. So in order to determine if this made sense for us, I had an opportunity to run an experiment. Okay. And the experiment was stand up a second agency. I had it's just several things came together all at once. We got the PPP money from the government. Thank you, Uncle Sam.
Yep.
Had to do something with that. I had someone who appeared to be just a really strong web developer, wanted to do something. Okay. Maybe on his own, maybe partnering with someone else, relatively young, didn't know where to go. He reached out to me. So I had this quite capable person who wanted to do something.
Yep.
And third was I had an exclusivity conflict at Array Digital with an HVAC company. We couldn't take on this HVAC, a new HVAC company because of our existing one. We had exclusivity. So we were having to walk away from like $7,000 a month of new revenue. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. I really don't want to walk away from this revenue. What could we do? We very quickly formed a second agency, Rival Digital. It solved all those problems. I could hire the talent. I could take advantage of the PPP money, do something with it. And we could take on that new client, and we could also experiment with niching. So that experiment lasted about a year until we saw, and Rival's still up and running. They're doing great, by the way, but until we saw that this niching thing was working in the second agency. Wow, that's really cool. It's really working over there. What if we did the same thing now back at the mothership, Array Digital, and we decided to do that? So about a year or two after Arrival, we went all in on niching Array Digital to law firms. So now we had home services and HVAC, we had law firms. And then that's when I started to think about the portfolio concept and maybe a portfolio of niche agencies, but I hadn't really fleshed it all out until about roughly a year and a half ago. We had someone in our group, someone who worked at Rival, who was a strong developer, was ready for the next thing. He needed an opportunity. He had heard me preaching that we want to grow a big portfolio of companies so that we could have unlimited opportunity. And when you start saying these things to your people, they start to remember and they start to remind you, exactly. Hey, you said we were going to grow a big thing and there's opportunity for people who want it. I want it. He wanted something bigger. Okay, cool. And so he had some contracts that he was doing on the side. And so we bought those contracts and we formed Crush Digital, and we focused them on medical practices.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, certainly wasn't the original plan. The original plan was to take Array Digital and just make it really big, but I didn't know how. And it solved a lot of problems, but it's also created new problems that I'm now having to solve.
Yeah. Okay. But easier problems, hopefully.
Yeah, usually they're easy. Yeah, I would say they're easier problems. So like we have the 3 agencies, but then we have a layer of folks above the agencies, like myself.
Yeah.
I don't work for any given agency. I help with all of them. So we have a small staff. And how do we share the costs? And of course, no one's ever happy about like how much I have to charge them for these internal services, right?
Yeah.
And the separation of concerns between like me and the presidents, me backing out of Array one day about a year ago, putting a president in place that caused a lot of disruption. And so having to work through those kinds of growing pains, but they're all good, positive growing pains.
Yeah. 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 It's kind of, I have this image of an amoeba, right? Like when it gets big enough, it splits and there's then 2 amoebas, right? Like there's a certain amount of deciding like, okay, I'm going to cleave off, part of one business to form the new business. I guess how, as you've gone through this now twice, like what's the playbook a little bit? Like how like, is this like, okay, I need kind of a technical leader, I need a first customer, and then I need these things, and I get, if I get those 3 ingredients, that's enough to kind of be the starter to the sourdough, right? It gets the next thing going. Like what's been the formula that you figured out?
So at this, you're absolutely right. And we do want to do this. So we want to create a 4th agency, a 5th agency. I want to give our folks the opportunity to grow. It reduces my risk because we're dealing with different industries. And frankly, as they each grow, like I'm going to do better. Everyone's going to do better. I'd rather have, 3 or 4 or 5 companies than one.
Yeah.
So as long as it can be managed, right? So it has to be like managed growth. But to your question about what's the formula? Yeah, thing one is I need to have a very capable leader. Okay. And typically this is someone who is actually every time it's been someone who's been very knowledgeable of web development and SEO. We do a lot of SEO here.
Okay.
SEO is not dead, right? It's changing quite rapidly, but it's certainly not dead.
Yeah.
And so we need people that can change with the changing technologies as well. So that's the core. If someone could build a website and get it ranked in whatever it is the ranking machine now and in the future, Google, ChatGPT, then they could do an awful lot of good for their clients. And then there's just a couple of other outlier services that we can get them help for, things like social media and online advertising. So we have people in the portfolio that can help with those things. But we need the capable person. We need some idea of the niche. The more concrete, the better, right? So we already have now law firms. We have home services companies, mostly HVAC covered, and we have medical practices, mostly med spas. Okay. So what would be next, right? And so this is where it's like, okay, which industry are we going after? What's the next hot thing, right? Roofing is hot. Even though we can cover that with Rival Digital, maybe it makes sense to spit off a niche in roofing, garage door.
So let's talk about that. So it feels like there's a heuristic here or something about the definition of a niche niche, tomato. What kind of, like with that one, like from an industry point of view, my first thinking is, well, that's part of a home. So let's just make that part of the home services. But is it about the nature of the service and how it sells or how it gets bought, or like what makes you want to think about it as of a different company?
Right. Well, yeah. So like how low do you go, or how much do you combine? Right. So at Rival Digital, we started off HVAC and HVAC only, and we would turn away anyone else that was not HVAC. And within a span of 3 months after forming that company, they knew more about HVAC than Array Digital had learned in the previous 3 or 4 years. Yeah. Like they just knew 10 times as much as we did. So they focused. There's a lot of power in focusing, and they grew very quickly in that realm. They expanded because with HVAC in particular, there's not a lot of pure play HVAC companies. A lot of them will do plumbing in addition to HVAC, electrical in addition. So they started to branch out. Now, if you redefined the niche from, say, HVAC contractors to home services, all of a sudden you're talking in generalities, right? So what is a home services company? If I go ask a plumber, what do you do?
Yeah.
He or she will say, I'm a plumber. He or she will not say, I'm a home services company.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the more you get away from that tight niche, the less your the more your messaging has to be somewhat generic, which means that it's going to not land the same way that it would if it was hyper niche. So the tighter, the better. The tighter the community, or the more different the community, the better. What the goal we're after here is that when we put our messaging out into the world and people look at our website and our social media and all that stuff, they see it and they think, this company understands me.
Yeah.
It's that tight. It's like we're talking directly to you, right? Like, Bruce, if you were a plumber, I want Bruce to say, oh, wow, these guys are a plumbing company that works in my particular super niche within plumbing. Yeah. They're for me. And it's at the detriment of everybody else. You're telling everyone else effectively, you're not my kind of person, but I want Bruce to say, I want to hire you. Yeah. Because there's plenty of people like that out there. Right. So, so it's a feel to it. There's a nuance to it. Right. Now,
I get it. I always think of the, ski shop and patio furniture. Right. It's like, they do it because it's their complementary service or their cyclical, anti-cyclical, services kind of thing. But it's like, okay, so if you were going to an agency for those folks, do you go for ski shops or do you go for patio furniture shops or do you go for patio and ski shops? It's really, how does the buyer buy, or how does the buyer think of themselves? Not about how do you think about the business or what's the category of the business.
That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So give me the roofing. Like, so how did roofing kind of, or why is roofing kind of being cleaved off from home services? Because they see themselves as a different kind of business?
Yes. So as of right now, we do work with roofers at Rival Digital, but it's a little bit of a different subculture from say like your mechanics, the people that work in HVAC, electrical, things like that. So it's a different way they do business. They do a lot of outsourcing and a lot of sales versus not a lot of servicing. There's no recurring revenue in roofing. So it's a different environment. Now they also have a small handful of their own conferences. It's just roofing. That's it.
Got it.
It's not roofing and plumbing.
So there's a market. Roofing. There's a place you can actually go and meet them.
Right. And so that's another nice thing about niching is once you define the niche, you know who you need to go talk to, right? Let's say roofing, just as an example. Great. What roofing companies are around here? And you can do a Google search and you'll get a long list. Awesome. Okay. Where do these people hang out? What conferences do they go to? When do they go to them? There's a cycle in roofing. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm sure there's a busy season and a slow season for roofing. I would guess they're probably busier in the spring than say in the fall. Right. And so probably their conferences are like in the off season. So to learning all those nuances, how do they speak? What do they value? I can tell you roofers, they don't want to do any repair work. There's no money in it. They want to replace a roof. Right. So knowing that a roofer wants new repair jobs, that's good to know going into say like a conference or going into like a sales pitch. But then again, their customers typically they're not thinking I need to replace a roof. They're thinking I have a leak and I need that leak fixed. I want to fix it. So there's nuance there between, which would be our clients and their customers. So knowing all of that is very helpful. And those are just different things than say like plumbing, right? Or, you don't replace your plumbing in your house, right? You fix the toilet. So any kind of nuance like that, the more you can know about it, the better. And so the further apart it gets in the nuance, the more likely it is you may want to spin off another specialized agency.
Yeah, interesting. And so you need a leader, you need the customer. Like what else is key to launching, or what when you're
Yeah.
thinking about launching a new business, like what else is the formula?
Yeah, I actually a couple months ago I put together an investment thesis. I don't have it up on my screen right now, but the things that we would be looking for if we were to invest either in an industry or to acquire another agency.
Yeah.
What are some things that are important? Ideally, there is low seasonality in that business. All things being equal, I would prefer if our clients were busy all year round, so that their seasonality doesn't affect my seasonality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, in HVAC, interestingly, there's very high seasonality, right? AC breaks in the summertime and they get slammed, and then their phone doesn't ring for 2 months in the wintertime, unless they're up north and pipes are freezing.
Yeah.
But in most of the country, that's not as big of an issue. Yeah. So generally speaking, you want low seasonality. Also, generally speaking, you want there to be a lot of interest from people who have money that are looking to get into that industry, in particular, private equity. So private equity is driving a ton of activity in things like garage doors. For whatever reason, garage doors are hot when it comes to PE. HVAC is hot. Roofing is hot. Like, they like investing in those businesses. So if private equity is coming in and buying a business, then they're also investing a lot of money into those businesses, and there's a lot more money to go around with the intent of growing that business, which means they need someone like us to help them get more business. Yeah. That's a good thing. If there's an industry that has no PE activity, that's a negative. I'm not saying like that won't happen. Like, we won't. Just in law firms, there's less. With law firms, there's a lot less PE activity than with HVAC. It still works out for us. So there's several factors like that I look into.
And how, I guess in terms of, you've done this twice now, I guess there a little bit of a process to, okay, we have to get this thing in place, then we get this thing in place, then this place, or what's kind of the order of events to kind of build a sustainable, scalable, new business? Yeah.
So I'd love to say that we have it to the point where we just press a button and it just happens, but we're not there yet. Now, the first time that we spun off a company, which was Rival Digital, we completely winged it. We screwed so much up. It was
like what? Like, I'm always curious about things, the learnings. Every learning has a story behind it. Like, what are some of the stories behind some of your learnings here?
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. So first, the name, just picking a name. And what most people do, what we do is, well, I'll speak for myself. I don't know about most people, but when it comes to a name, you like come up with a name and a concept, and then you go see if the domain name is available. Yeah. Ideally, there's a perfect match, Rival Digital and rivaldigital.com as an example. Sometimes that's not the case. We wanted for Rival at first, we wanted something that was like tough and kind of like gritty, like something that was like metallic, built in like a furnace. And so we came up with the idea of forged local. I was
just going to say forged.
forged in a furnace. Wow, that's tough, right? And I went and I bought the domain name and everything. And we're like, about to like take it to the next couple steps. And then for some reason I did a dictionary search on the word forged.
Okay.
Well, the word forged has two meanings. One is it was made in a furnace. The other is it's fake. It's a forged document, as an example. And I thought, no, like we can't.
For legal.
And we had debates like, well, yeah, but the main definition is what we want. Yeah, but you're never going to escape the secondary definition.
Exactly.
So we had to change. Another example of, and by the way, we did all this like literally within like 2 days. It was crazy. That learning number one, don't try to do this in 2 days. Come up with a plan. Mistake number two is I have a partner and his name is Kevin. And so I was like, all right, I'll do this. You do this. And like the thing that he was going to do was register with the IRS and get an EIN, an employer identification number. So he did it. Cool. We got the EIN. We're good to go. Fast forward about a year after standing up Rival, and my lawyers are like, and first of all, my lawyers and CPAs are like, what did you do? How did you move this money around? We just moved shit around, and they're like, you can't do that. And so they get involved to try to clean up our mess. And they're like, hey, why is it that the IRS thinks that Kevin owns 100% of the company, And he's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking. Like it was a mistake. Like when he was filling out the form, he thought like he was doing it right, but he put himself as 100% owner, and I got nothing. I wasn't even named.
Yeah.
And so it's
Well,
like,
you don't have to worry about the taxes then.
so we had to go clean that up. He still gets documents 3 years after the discovery. Every once in a while, he gets a document in his name, and it's like, oh, God, I thought we took care of this. So yeah, lesson learned is come up with a plan. So the second time we did it at Crush Digital, we had a little more time. We knew roughly what needed to be done by thinking back to Rival. But I told everybody, as we're executing, write down what you do.
Good.
So the second time, we at least wrote it down as we were going. And so now we have a really good list. My business manager has taken that, put it into an Asana template. So we are close to the point where you can press the button, but we definitely know more about what we need to do, although we still make mistakes. So at Crush Digital, we just discovered 1.5 years after forming the company that, oops, we never got a local business license, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were paying the business license tax for Array and for Rival, and I was like, huh, did we get a bill for Crush? No. Oh, that's weird. I wonder why. We never got a business license, so we have to take care of that now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, I mean, I always find businesses full of these little things. It's like, really, I got to do this, and what's this? And you just don't understand until you get into it. So looking at the expansion, so it seems like you've got a little bit of experience on the kind of launch new agency mode. Talk to me a little bit about other ways that you're looking at growing. I mean, you mentioned acquisitions at some point here, but like, what's the thinking between, hey, we're going to roll our own and kind of build a new agency versus like, is there anyone doing this already that maybe, is at an early stage, right? Maybe they're struggling and maybe we can come in and, take an equity stake or buy them outright. Like, how have you looked at kind of that inorganic growth?
Yeah. So one of my goals this year for 2025 is to acquire an agency that's doing between $500,000 and $1 million of top line revenue. Again, I have an investment thesis. So I know what I'm going after. I'm definitely looking for someone who has more niching, more recurring revenue, less seasonality with their clients. I also know that there's a lot of agency owners that are just not really into like the business aspect of it. Yeah. So they're creators, and they like the craft of whatever they do, whether it's building websites or social media. But the business part, they're like, oh, this sucks. And that's like where I come in, where I thrive, actually. So like I even have a mastermind called the Business of Agency Mastermind, which is where we talk about business. Today, we're going to be talking about new business development. So that's my zone of genius, if you will. That's where I bring a lot of value. So I think when it comes to acquiring an agency, there's countless agencies out there where they just want to do the work and they don't want to get screwed with business licenses and EIN numbers and insurance and just all that crap. And I get it. It's crap, but it has to get done. Yeah. So I think there's an opportunity for people to get some relief, be able to focus in on what they do best, where they bring the highest value. And then they can become part of the platform that we're building, where we have defined a lot of these things. Like we've taken care of HR. We have a system for that. 401k, right? We got like a lot of that stuff, CPAs, legal, like we've taken care of a lot of those kinds of problems. Some people just have never even like taken care of those problems. They may have been operating for years. So this could be some relief for them. It helps us grow. It helps us grow faster versus doing it organically again, which I'm totally game for. Yeah. But number one, I have to have the next leader. And at this point, I'm fresh out of the next person. Yeah. So we have to grow that. That takes time. So an acquisition is just a faster way of doing it. And I've studied a lot about private equity. This is what they do. When they gain ownership of a company, they then start buying other companies and bring it in. They can grow much, much faster. And then they triage. Not triage, is that the right word? Where you buy low, sell high.
No, arbitrage. Yeah.
Arbitrage. Yeah. I was so close. It was off by a couple of letters. Yeah. Yeah. They arbitrage, things like multiples. I'm actually to the point where I can start doing that to some degree.
Yeah. And what do you anticipate being kind of the set of challenges that come with the acquisition and integration process versus the challenges you've already kind of started to figure out in terms of launching new agencies?
Yeah. Process and culture, right? Because
Okay.
no one does things the same. So culture is one of those soft, squishy things. It's hard
Yeah.
to quantify. Like what, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your culture? You can't say like I'm a 10 and you're a 7 or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's just different. And so the culture would be different. We'd have to learn their culture and probably adjust a little, and then they would learn our cultures. And there's a lot of time that is required. That's honestly like about a year long process to kind
Yeah.
of like mesh and get to the point where you understand each other. So the culture is a big one, and then process. So
Yeah.
everyone has a different belief in the way things are done, the way that you build clients. Do you give them a pass if they're late on their invoices or not? I mean, just you name it. Everyone's got an opinion about everything that is done in a business, and the chances of someone choosing the same options at their independent agency as I did at mine are very slim.
Yeah.
So again, it's going to be emerging. Like, okay, so how do you all do it? Okay, here's how we do it, and trying to take the best of all the pieces. But anything that we do at our, in our organization, we'd want to make it so that it's the best thing that applies to everybody.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, I have other leaders who have their own thoughts and their own influence. And I need to actually start selling internally to them. Hey, this is a good idea. I know you like doing A, but like think about B. Sure, I could just tell them we're doing B and that's it. But
Mhm.
it's best to do it through a position of influence and discussion and taking the time and hugging people, right? Like, and I'm being nonchalant about it, but like you need to make sure that people feel heard
Yeah.
and you hear them and they hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised you were trained as an engineer. It's very like the whole kind of systems and like how do I standardize and how do I figure out how to kind of process, put a process to these things is definitely coming through. Where I guess what's the ultimate goal? Like where do you ultimately take all these things? Is this like you want
Yeah.
to have 150 agencies under your belt? Like what's the trajectory look like for you?
Yeah. So back in 2017, when we were doing $1 million a year of revenue and just barely, we went to a learning event. I'm part of a group called the Entrepreneurs Organization.
Mhm.
And there was a day-long learning, and the speaker said, well, think about a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Mm,
What's your BHAG? What's the big thing you want to accomplish?
yeah.
Not just like today or this year, but like in your career. And I was like, So we started to think about like, okay, well, maybe 10 offices. Well, this is
Okay.
before COVID, right? So maybe offices. But I could game that system, right? Okay, like
Oh
we need
yeah.
to get 10. So like just go, get a
10
co-working
we
space
works.
over there.
Yeah.
Employees was the same. Well, maybe we could have like 500 employees, but actually fewer employees is better than more, right? So
Uh-huh.
like that
Yeah.
doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When it came right down to it, it was money, right? Money doesn't lie usually. So
Hmm.
I started to think about, well, what revenue like would I want to get to? What's a big company? 50 million, 75 million.
Okay.
You know what? 100 million has a nice ring to it. Right? I don't know what that means. 100 million is a big number, but I've
Hmm.
got a long ways to think about this. And so I started to put a little more teeth into it over time and a little more and a little more. And I actually have a picture here that I'm looking at behind my monitor. And
Hmm.
it's the vision, it's the painted picture of what it looks like when we get to $100 million. It's a scene in Las Vegas full of tables and all the employees are there. And we have DJs, and I wrote about it. I have a book called $1 Million Journey right
There
behind
you
me.
go. Yeah.
That's the opening scene. The opening chapter is the visualization of this event. We made it to $100 million, but it took me a long time to define what that even, like, what does that mean? What's $100 million? The top line? Is it at
Yeah.
one agency? Does it include ad spend or not? These are all things that, decisions that had to be made at some point as I wanted to add more and more clarity to the vision. Now it's $100 million, either revenue or sale price. I don't really care which I get to first
Okay.
for the portfolio.
Okay.
So if you think about sale price, I want to sell for $100 million one day, the entire portfolio. And it has to be as a platform. I'm not going to like
Okay.
carve out this company and send a piece here and a piece there.
Okay.
So I'm building a platform. I know that we need a brand at the platform level,
Okay.
and we need a company at the platform level. So we do have a parent company, and I just went through a branding exercise with a branding agency, and we landed on Proxa. So Proxa is going to be the name of the platform. We have proxabrands.com. Again, domains are difficult to find as exact fits. I wish I could get proxa.com, but someone's got it for now.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be rolling out this new brand soon. Maybe by the time this goes live, proxabrands.com will be live. I have Rival Digital. They're going to be building the website, but we're putting together what I would call a platform. So that's private equity speak for an entire grouping of companies, or typically I think a PE would call a platform a company that they buy and then they can bolt on other companies. Well, I'm going to deliver as much of that bolt-on end scenario as possible. The staff at the above the agencies, as many agencies as makes sense. I'm not committing to the number of agencies going forward, but I know I want more, and I want to sell this whole thing in one chunk. Now, I believe the fastest way for me to get from where we're at now, which is a roughly 6.5 million run rate, to 100 million, is not to wait until I get up to a point where I could sell for 100 million, or we're doing 100 million in revenue, but to sell somewhere between here and there and partner with PE. Sell to PE, reinvest some of my funds into it, continue to run it, and then using the deep pockets of a private equity firm, build it up as fast as possible, and then sell a second time for 100 million. That's where I'm leaning right now.
Yeah. You mentioned that you've been talking with some private equity and kind of figuring out, what that looks like. I like this whole idea of, it's almost like you're doing customer development, like you're building a product for private equity. So you're kind of talking to that customer and figuring out what do they want to buy? How do they want to buy it? Like, what are the factors, variables? Like, what are you learning in terms of what does PE want and how do they want it? And what are the kind of insights you're developing in terms of that's driving your decision making on how you structure, organize, your platform to be highly valuable and highly buyable by private equity?
Yeah. So having that vision of wanting to sell one day for a big number, who's going to buy it, probably PE at that number, that helps drive everything that I'm focused on. So yeah, I'm not there yet as far as being ready to sell, but we're closing in on it. And I'm doing the research and I'm figuring out what that potential buyer wants. So what does a private equity firm want? Actually, what does any buyer want? Okay. What does every buyer want? Well, number one, they want a legitimate company, right? So like they don't want any smoke and mirrors. There's a lot of agencies that like outsource everything to the Philippines, and I wouldn't want to buy that. That's risky. I want to buy like a company that is staffed by a capable team. So we have mostly people in the United States, full-time employees, W-2, as it's more expensive. We do augment with some people overseas, but the vast majority are in the United States. They want a capable leader. So they want I want capable leaders, my presidents, that will get me to the sale. Yeah. That's my goal. I need them to be on board, which means I need to give them some financial incentive to get to the sale. I can't just say, well, you're not going to get a cut of the sale, but I need you to fully support it. Maybe you'll have a job afterwards. Maybe not, right? I need to make an enticement for them. So I had to put together plans for me to get them to the sale. What I recently found out from my lawyer, just like in the last week or two, is, well, you know what? It's not just getting them to that finish line, because that's the starting line for the company that bought them. Yeah. And so private equity or any mature buyer not only wants, say, like the top leadership to get to the transaction, the sale, they want to make sure that they're around afterwards. Well, how do you make sure that people are around? The best way is to give them equity. Yeah. Because what I'm doing right now is a transaction bonus, right? They got a cut of the proceeds.
Like phantom.
But they could take that cut of the proceeds and go off on a beach somewhere. Yeah. Well, the buyer wants to make sure that they don't go off on a beach somewhere. And the best way you can't enslave people, but what you can do is give them a really fat carrot.
Years ago.
Give them a fat carrot to incentivize them to stick around, and that's usually equity.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to think about that. Recurring revenue. A buyer wants recurring revenue. right? If anyone who's listening was going to buy a company, wouldn't you rather have recurring revenue than like having to go chase the next project all the time? That's exhausting. I'd rather know that I have a contract right here, that I'm buying this contract, and it's a 2-year long contract. It doesn't expire for 20 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's solid, right? That's something you could literally take to the bank and get a loan on.
Yeah.
So I need to focus on recurring revenue, which I do.
Mm-hmm.
I need to measure it. How much of our revenue is recurring revenue? Right now it's 91%. We got to 91% without ever even knowing what the number was. I just knew we wanted more is better. Well, now that I have a number, I can start to ramp it up. Okay, what's it going to take to get to 95%?
Yeah.
The other thing that that a buyer wants is retained ARR, annual recurring revenue. So I said, okay, well, number one, how do I even figure this out? So retained ARR is how much of the revenue that you had, say, 1 year ago from these clients. Just look at your clients from a year ago. Say you have 10 clients. Fast forward to today, for those same 10 clients, the ones that remain, let's say only 7 remain, how much revenue is coming out of those 7 versus the 10 originally? And you have a ratio.
Yeah.
Just coming up with that methodology, understanding what retained ARR is, took a while. And then being able to measure it took a while. We are currently at about 83%, which is okay considering we've never looked at it before. But I know from my discussions with PE, from reading books, from being on the private equity subreddit, that really the goal is, and seminars, like these free, like PE investor banker kind of like trainings that happen all the time. They're looking for 90%, ideally 95%. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Okay, well, what are we going to do? How do I ensure that I retain the ARR? Because if we can retain it, that's less selling.
You don't have to sell it, exactly. Yeah.
And if we sell on top of it, then we're growing, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors like that. Written process, right? Not just like, oh yeah, we do it the same way every time. No, like there's a written document. And what we've done is we have written documents, and it's backed by automation and templates. So like you fill out a Google form, just as an example. When you get a new client, we fill out a Google form. It fires off a Zap. It spins off an Asana template. It's got all the tasks in there. And then we change these templates over time. So just this morning, one of the presidents was asking, hey, I want to change this to be assigned from this person to this person going forward. Sure, no problem. Little tweaks. 1% adjustments as often as we can make them before you know it really adds up.
Yeah.
And then the final thing that I'll mention is something else that buyers want is, and in particular PE, is someone like me, the owner. They really don't want me running operations, right? So it's something that as an owner, you have to come to grips with. Ideally, like they don't want to be completely dependent on me. Ideally, there's a senior executive level staff, a team of people that are running the show. And if they want, they could buy the show and say, okay, previous owner, we don't need you anymore. Beat off. Here's a bunch of money. Go to the beach, right? Or they could choose to keep the owner. So I had to take myself out of the lead position at Array Digital, which was my baby. That was very difficult. And it was also very disruptive, I discovered, because it took about a year to get to the point where we're like, okay, we know where Erik had all of his fingers and all the dysfunctions he left behind that he could deal with.
All the things he enabled.
Yeah, exactly. All the stuff he was willing to tolerate, but the new leadership is not. And new leadership has new ideas, and you want to give them room to exercise. So it was disruptive, but we're at the point where we're about roughly a year and a half into that transition, and that's good. Like if I want, I could take a month off if I wanted to, but I've got stuff to do. So it's a difficult thing to get to. It requires people, it requires growth, it requires revenue. In order to be able to achieve a lot of those things. You just need some breathing room when it comes to your finances to be able to like hire a president to replace you.
Yeah. So one final question. I'm just kind of curious, like ultimately, what do you do with all this? So you sell it. So you do initial sale, get a second bite of the apple, right? Get to 100 million, you get the 100 million sale. Then what? Like, what's the big plan, or where do you want to go from here? Or where do you go from there once you achieve this?
Yeah. I think it's going to take another 6 to 10 years before I'm like to the point where it's like I'm walking away, and it'll be tough, of course. For me, I really enjoy right now. I really enjoy mentoring other people. I do it through I mentioned the Entrepreneurs Organization. I currently mentor a group there. I have my mastermind of agency owners. I mentor there. So I at a certain point, you kind of think, well, wow, I actually kind of know a little bit these days. Like, took a long time to get here. Like, I could help these other people avoid these really bad mistakes. Like, when you file with the IRS, make sure you include your partner, right?
Get your local business license.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy mentoring. I really enjoy coaching. I'll probably do that for a good amount of time afterwards. Honestly, I want to do some traveling, you know, and I want to give back to the community. So my wife and I, we've been talking about how we could do that, whether it's, getting more involved in, I say, homeless shelters or, just things like that. Like there's a lot of people suffering out there in the world. And so, like one of the, there's someone that I've listened to in the past, Grant Cardone, who says it's your responsibility to be ultra successful and make a bunch of money so that you can help other people. Yeah. Like, okay, well, on the one hand, he's trying to sell product courses, right? He's always selling product. He's very good at that.
Oh yeah.
But on the other, it's like, well, yeah, that's actually a pretty noble thing in that regard. It's not a bad thing to like make a bunch of money. Like you could actually do a lot of good. You could help a lot of people if you decide to do that.
Yeah.
So I would like to get more involved in that because, it's a tough world out there, like I live a very privileged life. Like, I mean, like I don't live a fancy opulent life. I only have can you see it? The fake plane. No, it's over here. Actually, I gotta grab it. I love this. My wife gave this to me. This is the vision.
I love it.
To eventually get one of these real, but
there we go.
I'm far from that.
There we go.
But so like, we have a very modest lifestyle. But some people they have it really tough. Like, I mean, like, month to month is very difficult. So like if we could, and I'm not saying just give the money away, but like do something to help people get ahead. I'm interested in that.
Yeah. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with success. I think I've certainly found that, but both them in the work that I've done, the work that leaders that I've worked with and coached over the years, right? I think there's a strong sense of, fortune, right? In terms of, they were privileged and lucky and worked very hard, but also we're in a good position that is not always the case for everyone. So being able,
it's also, and I know we're going to wrap it up, but just it's interesting because, for me, just speaking out of my personal experience, it's year after year after year of like struggling, like really stressed out. Where was the next project going to come from, and like what happens if this whole thing goes away, and the shame that would happen if this whole thing went away. What would I do next? How do I feed my family? And at a certain point, you just grind. And at a certain point, you look up and you're like, I guess we're kind of doing all right now. And so there's definitely like a mental shift that has happened for me personally. And it's not that I've taken my foot off the pedal, but I'm not as stressed about it. I still want to pursue the goals. But it is interesting when you start thinking, okay, what is life beyond just the daily grind? And it's a big world out there.
Yeah. Erik, it's been a pleasure. I know we covered a lot of great insights for folks, both around running companies. I love this idea of platform. I'm very curious to kind of hear how things play out. We'll have to do a follow-up episode at some point here when you start getting ready for that, at least that first private equity infusion. If people want to find out more about you, about the businesses, what's the best way to get that information?
Yeah. So if you go there right now, there's probably nothing up, but proxabrands.com. Hopefully by the time this episode comes out, we'll have proxabrands.com up or a landing page. My email is working. Okay. So it's Erik, which is ERIK at proxabrands.com. And you can certainly find me all over social media, LinkedIn, Instagram. I hang out on Instagram a lot. And on Instagram, I'm Erik.J.Olson. So ERIK. .j.olson, and then that's my internet name, Erik J. Olson. So if you search anywhere, that I should come up.
All right, you've cornered the market on Erik J. Olson.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it feels kind of weird just to start saying that you have a middle initial, but that's what you need to do in marketing is make yourself a little bit distinct.
I know. Great. I'll make sure all the information there is in the show notes so people can get to that. Erik, thank you so
Thank you,
much for
Bruce.
taking the time today. It's been a pleasure.
That was a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Thank you.